Their large orders are, counted as 500 to 1,000 crore rupees, so really large, 11% up on a Cochin shipyard. That stock doing fabulously in trade. Finolex, I want to talk about. Now, Finolex has had sort of a late start and has come off its highs. We should pull up, I don't know if we can quickly pull up the intraday chart of Finolex, because Finolex was seeming fairly good. And have you looked at Finolex Industries? They've better non-agri business, and that is why that stock is up. Now, RVNL, let's quickly go to RVNL and see what's happening there. RVNL again, because of orders. You've had order from the Southern Railways, and that stock is about 6.5% up. UPL, on the other hand, has seen a bout of profit booking. You had quite a few brokerage notes which were positive on UPL, but the fact that FY25 is going to continue to be a tough year is something that the market is not in a mood to digest. Not give that much of leeway. Likewise for Zomato. That pain continues for Zomato. Yesterday down 4%, right now again down 4%, and maybe ESOP pain is what is being seen as far as Zomato is concerned. Chalet Hotels is the other one that I would pick up. On the face of it, numbers were not bad, but not up to the street's expectations. A miss on the net profit number perhaps is seeing the stock about 3% down. Finolex Industries is the one that I was talking about today, and I'd like to pull up. Yeah, you were seeing Finolex Cables earlier, but I'm talking about Finolex Industries. Nearly 10% up. Now, this is an interesting one because numbers were in a couple of days ago. Concall outlook was in much later, but the fact that the company wants to focus on the non-agri segment is something that the market is enthused about. 9.5% up. So yes, absolutely a good afternoon in terms of what we're seeing from the numbers.
Well, we'll talk about some of these things in depth, talk to the management of Wari as well, and of course analyze what the mutual funds have bought and sold the whole of last month a bit later on in the show. But start off with the optimism that exists in the markets with Aditya Agarwala at Invest for EDU and G. Chokalingam of Economics Research on the fundamentals. Gentlemen, thanks so much for joining in, both of you. Aditya, I'll start off with you. Good brisk day for the Nifty. Nothing extraordinary, but still about 0.6% under the current fear that exists. What do you make of this move? Would you trade this on the upside further? And would you trade any specific index?
Good afternoon, Niraj. Good afternoon, Tamanna. Thanks for having the show. Niraj, I'd just like to take you back at the start of the year, January, and look at the move the markets have been making from January onwards till now. Markets do make highs by a marginal few percentage points. And then every time we have seen a correction from January, it's been in the range of 3.5% to 4%. And every time markets correct in this range of 3.5% to 4%, markets bounces back and makes a new high again by a marginal few percentage points, and then again corrects back. So overall, if I look at the broader picture of the Nifty, it is still consolidating in a range, oscillating in a rising channel. And yesterday, actually, we hit the lower end of the channel, Niraj, right there. And from there, we witnessed a sharp bounce back in the Nifty. And today, it's a follow-through buying that we are seeing. I believe markets will inch higher gradually from here on. Maybe there will be volatility within that up move again. On the upside, immediate targets for me is 22,350 as far as the Nifty is concerned. There are about 20 DMAs there, so markets will face a bit of resistance around those areas. But slowly, I believe by the course of next phase of elections, maybe next Monday, markets should see levels of 22,450 to about 500 on the upside easily. And I think Bank Nifty is something, Niraj, which is not participated yet. I think Bank Nifty will be the one index that I'll put my money on. A couple of indexes actually. First is Bank Nifty. At current levels, I think it offers a good risk to reward. I feel that the PSUs and large caps bank will chip in. Maybe if not today, from tomorrow onwards. So 47,500 is a good support for the Bank Nifty. I believe Bank Nifty will scale to levels of 48,500, about 49,000 on the upside. The second index is, of course, the metal pack. I think Nifty Metal is still going very strong, and there are pockets there which are outperforming, and I believe their pockets will continue to outperform. Likelihood of a Hindalco, a JSW Steel, and a SAIL. All three stocks look extremely healthy, and I think they'll continue to rally from here on.
Okay. What about specific stocks, Aditya?
So I've got a couple of buy recommendations. The first you spoke of already at the start of the show, Adani Ports, a sharp bounce back. Adani Enterprises up. I think Adani Ports will follow through. It's a breakout from a falling wedge. At current levels, I'll go long for a target of 1450 on the upside with a stop at 1260 on the downside. The second is a Bharat Forge. After a sharp up move, we had 2 days of consolidation and it's resuming its uptrend in trade today. So I'll go long on Bharat Forge as well at current levels for a target of 1540 on the upside with a stop loss at 1390 on the downside.
Okay, let's talk about defense stocks. Defense stocks are buzzing in trade, and really, as we're seeing this sharp upside, it's defense that is leading the charge. What's going on? Anushi joins us with the key details.
Absolutely right, correct over here. Now, defense stocks, all 10 of them, major gains over here, about 2 to 10% of a gain. BEML leads the chart with about 8.7% of an intraday high that we are looking at. But before we go into the stock-specific news and developments that have been taking place, I just want to highlight the 2 recent upgrades that have taken place in terms of the defense industry in general. First, in the month of, if we take the latest one in account, Nomura on India Defense, they see a significant opportunity of over here with about $138 billion in the Indian defense sector over the course of next 7 to 8 years, and expect the defense budget to increase to at least to 37% of the total budget by FY30 fiscal. Now again, the top picks over here remained HAL and BL, both seeing about a 28 to 32% of gains respectively. Earlier in the month also, Jefferies had a similar outline on what is happening in the defense, outlining some of the key tailwinds over here. Again, over 100 to $120 billion of an opportunity over the next 5-6 years, which implies a 13% growth rate going forward. But now, if you have to look at the recent stock-related news as to why the stocks are buzzing, first we have HAL in focus, that is Hindustan Aeronautics, after UBS upgraded the stock to buy with a target price of about 5,200, implying about a 32% of an upside here. Both the orders and the delivery run rate showed a healthy growth, and even the expected order wins that lined up to about $5.3 trillion, 3 trillion rupees over FY24 to 28, which implies about a 4x return, 4x of order book by FY28 end. Now again, BEML was the top gainer in the intraday high if you're looking at. So some positive management commentary coming in today, wherein they're expecting the top line to grow by 18 to 20% going forward in FY25. So if you look at FY24, that was sort of muted with about 4% of a growth here. Order book stands at about 22,000 to 30,000 crore against 11,000 crore, which the company achieved this year, which was also below the guided 14,000 crore of range that we had expected. And again, the EBITDA is expected to rise further by 100 basis points going forward. So there is some positive momentum which the market has picked up over here. Cochin Shipyard, as you have already covered, a 500 to 1,000 crore of an order win coming in from a European client, which has led the stock to see about a 10% of a gain over here. But apart from that, earlier also we have seen a couple of major stocks reporting their revenue and the order book figures. So Bharat Dynamic reported about 5.6% decline, while HAL saw some strong growth at 11%. While if you look at the order book, HAL clocked in about 14.6% of an order growth, while Bharat Electronics saw about 25.2% of order growth in FY24. So this is overall the trends that we are seeing in the defense sector for now.
All right, G. Chokhalingam also with us. Good afternoon, Chokha. Just wanted to know your take on defense stocks and where that buzz is coming from. Is it right to see it in the larger rubric of perhaps this election jitters receding a bit?
I'm a bit surprised the way they bounced today in market as well as defense stock. I may be wrong, but I have cautioned my investors to wait for 20 days. Till June 4th you wait. Even if you have to pay 5% premium, it is better to pay because of 2 reasons. One, all of us know the FIs are continuously selling. And second, it's a mega event, general election. Once election is over, I'm pretty confident that the overall market cap will go up from 400 lakh crore to even 700 to 800 lakh crore in the next 4 years. But I would like to be very defensive, very safe and conservative. So therefore, I would not recommend buying a different stock after such a massive rally today.
Okay, some news bits and global news on the screen, and these are important. We'll try and get a perspective as well. But US is going to increase the levy on Chinese semiconductors to 50%. It will affect about 18 billion worth of current annual imports. More importantly, it's not just restricted to semiconductors. There is sweeping tariffs on Chinese chips, minerals, EVs, and more. Now, we know that there is a tariff war of sorts on. This is taking it a step further, and this is happening at a point of time when the whole of last week, Janet Yellen and some of the others have spoken about how maybe there might be some restraint from both sides. So clearly, this is important to monitor. Extremely important step from a global perspective, and at some point of time in the show, we'll try and get in a global perspective too. But Tamanna, suffice to say, arguably in terms of news flow, the biggest news element of the day thus far.
Absolutely, and it's going to have huge ramifications throughout the next 24-hour cycle when you see how US markets respond and Asian markets respond. I just want to put it in the context of the huge election battle which is coming up. Remember Biden, and I'm sorry, I know we're talking only about Indian elections right now, but the big election that the world will be watching is later this year between Biden and Trump. Trump's position as hard on China, tough on China is very clear. He is the biggest contender to Biden, who right now wants to show that I'm also strict with China and tough on China. So, it's that sort of outlook that you're seeing. And on Chinese chips, minerals and electric vehicles, it's going to impact Tesla. Of course, a lot of other things are in play as well. But the fact that you're going to increase levy on Chinese semiconductors by 50% is a huge quantum jump over there.
Very large. And like we said, viewers, whether this has, at least both of us believe there will be ramifications. What kind of ramifications is something that we'll get in a global guest to kind of talk about. But our markets are doing okay. And, amongst other things, the Adani Group stocks are doing really well. Well, the month of April saw a surge in M&A activity driven by 12 deals, each exceeding about $1 million each. 21% over the previous month, marking the highest level since May, with the Adani Group actually leading in deal value. Agam has some details on this. Agam, good afternoon.
Well, good afternoon. Adani Enterprises, in fact, is the top gainer on the Nifty 50 at the moment. And along with that, we also have gains in Adani Ports advancing by around 2%. We have gains in Adani Energy Solutions as well as Adani Green Energy. Well, there have been several updates with respect to Adani Group. Just a couple of days ago, we had an update from Adani Enterprises where they're looking to invest as much as 80,000 crores in FY25. Moving on, well, we have an update from Grant Thornton in the deal tracker, where it is said that 3 of the top 5 deals in the month of April were made by the Adani Group companies. These deals included 8,300 crores, a little over that, and 6,600 crores, 2 deals separately. We all know of Adani Ports as well, going ahead and buying and completing the acquisition of Gopalpur Port in Odisha. That was worth over 3,000 crores. So a lot of that has led to positive traction, a lot of potentially improvement in sentiment when it comes to some of the Adani Group companies. We also have another positive update when it comes to Adani Ports. Now, when it comes to its fiscal 24, the company has in fact beaten its own guidance when it comes to revenue as well as EBITDA. Moreover, they are projecting about 50,000 crores in revenues over the span of the next 4 years. And that has perhaps led to a little bit of a spark as well. As you can see, Adani Ports is also an up and about in green. So a lot of these factors perhaps are coming together. Of course, notwithstanding the improvement in the markets in general in terms of sentiment as well. And that's the reason why you're seeing that uptick in a whole host of these Adani Group companies. Standard disclaimer, of course, that the channel that you're watching is an Adani Group entity as well. But yes, looking good as far as the Adani Group goes at the moment.
Well, certainly the stocks are doing rather well for themselves in trade. We need to slip into a quick break, even though I would want to discuss some of these stocks with our experts. But we have to take a break. On the other side of the break, we will be joined by Wari Renewables' Dilip Panjwani. Stay tuned. Wari Renewable Technologies numbers, revenues look rock solid at 4.5 times higher, but EBITDA margins came off, as a result of which I think the street is disappointed and the stock is down about 5%. Remember, it's also a stock that has run up quite strongly in the recent past. Dilip Panjwani, who's the CFO of Wari, Johnson right now to talk about the numbers and the outlook ahead. Dilip, good having you. Thanks so much for joining in. Good afternoon. I'm sure you're not unhappy with the revenue performance. So what's gone behind this? And is this the kind of run rate one can or anticipate in the quarters to come as well?
Niraj, one thing one has to see in results is just not the revenue number, top line or the bottom line. Look at our last quarter. We were at just 745 megawatt of unexecuted order book. We gathered 2.5 gigawatt of order book in that quarter itself. Though that quarter number could be, little bit on quarter, little bit down. But look at the order book that has ballooned 2.5 times. Today we stand at 2.3 gigawatt of order book, which we have to deliver over next 12 to 18 months. Look at the year-round number, that is 2.5x times up from 325 crores to about 870 crores. EBITDA, you look at 207 crores of consolidated EBITDA that we have delivered. We said we should be in the margins anywhere between 15 to 20%. Today we are standing at about 20% of our margin, And you look at what the government is doing, how much public investment is happening, how much private investment is happening, the opportunities that are standing. Look at these results in that context. And this performance is very, very satisfactory.
No, Dilip, I will come to that as well. Clearly, the street is disappointed because of the quarterly numbers as well. So I have to address those. And then I'll come to the larger order book size that you've gotten and what it could mean for revenues over the 12 to 18 months too. But just tell me this first. For the quarter, the fact that your margins have come off the way they have, and there are reasons behind it, I know. My question largely is that what is a new normal as an average for the year that you believe would be the case for Wari, let's say for FY25?
We have consistently maintained that we should be in the region of 15 to 25%, more towards 15 rather than 20. And despite that, we are saying we are better off. And this we said last year, and we consistently maintain based on how we work with our customers, what's the market opportunity. Based on all those parameters, the margin profile is in how we have, told our stakeholders.
Mr. Panjwani, good afternoon. Tamanna here.
Good afternoon, Tamanna.
Hi, I hope you're doing well. The question I have is about your execution. You've executed about 704 megawatt in FY24. Your guidance was 900 to 950. I think that's what the sort of street is saying. I just want to understand how and why your unexecuted order book has also grown. So while you're absolutely right that your orders are coming in thick and fast, the pace of execution, can you give us some clarity on that?
Yes, a right question. Look at our execution in the last 1 year and then comparative year. We did under 300 megawatt. Against under 300 megawatt, we have delivered 704 megawatt. In one-off client case, sometimes execution can shift from one quarter to the other, but that doesn't take away that, the kind of work that we have done. EPC, as I said, is an all-around year work. That's why we keep saying that, look at our yearly numbers, not on quarter numbers. So one-off customers, and this sector is with, certain challenges like, land and all those things. So one of the things might come up, but, except that 100 megawatt, we are on track.
Your guidance was 900 odd. So, I mean, am I to understand this was effectively just some work getting pushed to the next quarter?
That's what I said.
Okay.
Thank you for, adding to my narrative. What I'm saying is that in one-off case, sometimes you get pushed to next quarter, but we are right on track and we are going to execute at same pace in the next year.
What is your guidance for execution of orders in the next year for FY25? And if I may ask you for Q1 as well?
Q1 is too early to say for us. We will get back to you on that. But, for the next year, what the order book, unexecuted order book stands at 2.3 gigawatt, we need to execute that in next 12 to 18 months.
So you're saying that where you said you increased from 300 odd megawatt to 704 megawatt, next year is going to be upward of 2000 megawatt?
Yes, we will try to be in that range, 1.8 to 2 kind of gigawatts.
Okay.
What, the numbers are about 4 crores per megawatt currently, Dilip, and therefore, would you actually clock in revenues northwards of 5,000 crores for FY25?
No, that's not the way to look at.
Okay.
We get all types of orders. We get turnkey orders. We get balance of system orders.
Okay.
Typically, our range of order is in the range of 1.1 to 1.2 crore per megawatt.
Okay.
But it always, the volume profile could differ depending upon order, Like the one last order that we got a turnkey order, which is of a size of 1,300 crores for just 450 megawatt.
Okay. Would you need to raise any kind of equity capital over the next 12 odd months in order to up the execution game, Dilip?
As a company, we keep constantly evaluating our capital plans, and we are presenting to our board, what is the requirement, etc. At an appropriate time, definitely we will update you if you have any, capital raise plans.
But right now is not the appropriate time. Right now is not the need. Your need doesn't arise right now.
Yeah.
Would you need capital right now?
Right now, no. But we keep constantly evaluating, and once we present our plans to the board, we will get back to you on that.
But you are listing your parent company, Wari Energies. Can you give us any update on that?
I'm not the right person to speak on Wari Energies. They have a different set of board, different set of management. So it's best to reach out to Wari Energies. As a listed company, I would be happy to answer anything on Wari Renewables.
All right. Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Panjwani, for speaking with us today. Wari Renewable CFO there talking about the quarter gone by and the year gone by. Remember, this is a stock that has run up substantially. And you're seeing the intraday chart, it's on a 5% lower circuit, second day in a row. But if you look at the 1 year chart, 1 month, of course, up 17%. I want to pull up the 1 year chart because whenever investors are looking for an opportunity to bet on India's solar energy push, this is one of the names that come up, and it's grown about 136, 137%. Just in the last 1 year. Aditya Agarwala and G. Chokhalingam are with us. Aditya, a quick take on Wari before we move ahead?
A difficult one, Tamanna, because stock has just seen upper circuit and lower circuit. There would be more downside, I think, so to the stock. Closer to about 2,000, maybe I would be interested in looking at the stock. Very difficult to say what would happen next to the stock. I think the downward trajectory might just continue for a few more trading sessions.
Okay. Mr. Chokhalingam, Wari or any of such other green energy companies, any thoughts?
No, I would not suggest a buy on Wari. The stock has moved up 14 times from the bottom in 52 weeks and trades at 24 times annual sales and trailing P multiple of over 115. The whole pack is getting crowded, In some buying Wari, one can still chase a stock like a Tata Power or to some extent even Adani Power rather than Wari.
Okay. Tamanna, some updates about the rainfall as well. Hopefully, nothing is as bad as it was in Mumbai yesterday.
Yeah, but yesterday it was, of course, the weather, but you can't blame the weather for just civic apathy. You hang a 120-foot hoarding without permission and it falls on people and they die, then you can't blame the rain gods. But yeah, I hope everyone's safe. Arunachal Pradesh going to see heavy rains, so is Tamil Nadu and Kerala, southern parts of Tamil Nadu. Very quick break, but a lot of updates on the other side. We're coming back with the F&O segment as well, tell you what's happening there. We're also giving you more insight on what this tariff war and the latest salvo from Biden on the tariff war on China actually means. All of that when we return. India market close. Agam is joining to break down the F&O cues. Agam, that change in mood is something that you're seeing as well?
Yes, we are seeing some improvement in sentiment at the moment, considering the Nifty has moved higher. We're seeing all the indices well advanced at the moment, and even in terms of the way futures are panning out, while unwinding continues, where the Nifty is now moved higher by around about 100 points, and should we close here, of course we'll move back about the mark of 22,200. But when it comes to the Bank Nifty, again, tomorrow is going to be the weekly options expiry. We're expecting a lot more volatility to come through, and while the underlying remains flat, we are looking at a near 3% increase in open interest towards what looks like longs at the moment. But when it comes to the options market, a lot of activity around 22,200, as you can see on your screen. Well, a lot of puts written, considering the Nifty moved higher, and similarly a lot of puts written around the 22,000 mark as well, and unwinding of calls around these two respective strikes. In terms of your overall open interest picture, now we have a 500-point range based on max OI, which is with the 22,500 call and the 22,000 put. And moving on to stocks, again, a lot of focus in terms of earnings coming through, but we have a gradual uptick in Marico, an uptick in ABB India as well, continued uptick in ABB India as well. Longs for Apollo Hospitals. PVR Inox, of course, is down around 2%, not the best set of earnings coming through. So shorts building up there, and Shree Cement is flat right now. We're expecting earnings from Shree Cement as well post-market. But in terms of stocks which are seeing unwinding, again, short covering for HDFC, AMC and Hindustan Copper. So that's something that we can watch out for. And of course, Polycab is looking at a bout of profit taking, longs unwinding there as well. Overall, a much better market, a lot more stability at the moment. And of course, we continue to keep an eye on the WIX going forward as well.
Certainly keep an eye out for that in moments from Agam. Thanks so much for putting that into perspective as well. So keep that in mind. While we'll just get in a global voice in moments from now, but Mr. Chokalingam, a pocket that we can't let go of talking about is the whole this shipbuilding set of stocks, which have had a fabulous run today, from a Cochin to a GRSC. Even related names like Mazgon Dock have had a good move. Do you like this pocket particularly?
Yeah, I used to like them when we had initiated Cochin Shipyard around 450. Then, of course, a little early close. Having seen these stocks trading at triple digit or 70-80% much lower than the current price, I'm not able to consume myself to recommend these stocks at this juncture. Probably post election I can relook at them, but definitely I would use this opportunity to book profit in such stocks.
All right, just wanted to get a view, of course, with the standard disclaimers. G. Chokalingam, I'll come to you first on this sharp move we've seen in Adani Enterprises, and let me add on Adani Ports as well. Pull up that entire pack and, what we're seeing. And I'll start with you, Choka. Is this a position that you would take on the entire pack, 5.5% up move right now, ahead of June 4th, or even from a longer view?
Yeah, among all Adani stocks, one can definitely buy Adani Port because we all know the leadership position. And secondly, interestingly, even though the exports are not growing the way we expect, the imports are surging, like anything. And FY24 imports are at a record high level. And that is going to continue because of the solid growth story. And that should help port industry. So therefore, among all, I would recommend Adani Port for long term. Maybe one can continue to hold on all Adani group stocks, and post-election, if political stability is very strong, and then one can add them as well.
What about you, Aditya? Any take on Adani Enterprises and the others in the pack?
I definitely like them, Tamanna, and I think there's a good short covering rally which is playing in all these Adani group stocks, and that is likely to continue. I'm already bullish on Adani Ports, given a call there. I think Adani Enterprise is also going to likely to continue its up move from here on. So one can definitely look at higher levels, at least 3,400 on the upside as far as Adani Enterprise is concerned. And looking at the cement packs which Adani holds, the ACC and the Ambujas, I think there is a good likelihood that those pockets will also see a good up move. So Ambuja Cement especially, I think looks attractive on the chart setup, can test levels of 640 on the upside as a good support on the downside at 600. So definitely one should take a look at all these pockets of Adani Group stocks, and they can offer another 3 to 4% upside from current levels.
Be your top pick in this pack?
Has to be Adani Port. Has to be Adani Port, Tamanna, for a target of 1450 on the upside.
1450 on the upside. All right. Standard disclaimers that the channel you're seeing is part of the Adani Group. Now, on to some earnings expected today. And actually, the one big one is telecom major Bharti Airtel set to report its Q4 numbers. Smriti joining us with what we should be watching out for. Yes, Smriti?
Well, yes, Bharti Airtel is set to report its earnings this evening. The revenue is likely to rise about 2% to 38,600 crores or thereabouts. The EBITDA is likely to rise about 3% to 20,480 crores. Margins, we may not see a lot of change in margins. So margins are likely to be flat because of 5G spends. And the net profit is likely to rise about 14% to 3,274 crores. Now, we're also expected to see some hindrance in its African subsidiary because of currency devaluation. We've been seeing that for a couple of quarters now, so that may continue in this one as well. However, it will not have an overall impact on the underlying constant currency growth. That may just come out to be healthy. But capex may seem very slight moderation in this quarter, but the company has guided in the previous quarters that we're going to see capex moderation from FY25 because most of the 5G capex spends will be over by this fiscal year. We're also in the management commentary going to look out for anything specific on tariff hikes. Now, the company has been talking about the hike for a while now, but since now we're approaching that post-election era, they might actually come out and talk a little bit about that. So that's something that we'll watch out for in the commentary that happens, the call that happens tomorrow.
Right, absolutely, Smriti. But, you know, tariff hikes has to be more than wishful thinking, which is what we've seen not just Bharti Airtel, but that entire pack indulge in. All right, talking about tariffs, but not the kind that Bharti Airtel wants to hike, the kind that Joe Biden has placed on China. David Morrison is joining us now. He's senior analyst at Trade Nation. David, thank you for speaking with us. Just want to get a sense of your take. Now, the first cut of what we saw was a 50% tariff hike on Chinese semiconductors from America. Give us context. How big a deal is this? What will be the impact?
Well, it's a very big hike, and we've seen this big hike on semiconductors. That's been one of the main features, and so on EVs, another main feature of the tariff increases, and on a lot of things, a lot of other materials as well. But of course, semiconductors are such an incredibly important part of what's been going on with manufacturing processes. They're going into everything, and specifically, of course, most importantly, in what's ahead for us with generative AI. So I think this is that's quite a targeted tariff on a very specific area. It's something that the Chinese need. There's a lot of technological stuff that the US has got, which China hasn't yet, although it could soon have. But yes, I mean, I think semiconductors is quite an important element of this tariff package from Joe Biden.
What does it mean in terms of impact for China, for the US, and for emerging nations like India?
Well, it's a difficult one to judge. I mean, you could think about what President Biden is doing at the moment is a way of countering what would probably happen anyway should Donald Trump get in. So in some respects, it seems like he's playing to his home base and saying that, yes, I mean, if we look just at the EV market in particular, it's quite apparent that Chinese production is far more than can be absorbed by the domestic market on its own. And so it seems very likely that China is going to want to sell those EVs abroad. Now, the fact is that the US feels that China has it's got the way it goes about building those EVs, the fact that it subsidizes them to such a great extent that is unfair competition. It's not a level playing field, and therefore tariffs are warranted. And you can see the argument, and certainly you have the likes of Elon Musk and other people in the US who are manufacturers of EVs sort of saying, look, this is going to destroy our domestic EV market. So we do need some kind of protection. But yes, it does have implications for elsewhere because the US has not just targeted the EV market, but it has looked to place tariffs on a lot of other things that it sends to China. Some of those are going to be significant, some of those will not be so. But it is a broad band of tariffs, and I think it sends a message in terms of intent from the present US administration to China and possibly to elsewhere in the world as well.
David, just one question. China won't sit lightly. We've seen now in the past that they are in a retaliatory mode as well. Does this have the potential, the nature of the hike and the products on which this announcement has come in, does it have the potential to have a larger tit-for-tat move and this moving up substantially on both sides?
I think it does. China are obviously very disappointed by what has happened about this move. They will take it quite badly. And there are obviously ways that they can respond to this. And I wouldn't be surprised if they come back with something quite quickly. Bear in mind, of course, there are plenty of things that China does produce, and I'm thinking right at the front of my head right now is sort of the rare earths, which are so vital for so many products that we now manufacture. And should they decide that they're not willing to export those, that would be a potential problem in the years ahead.
One last question, David. We're wondering if there is an India sort of impact in this. If this whole tariff war begins between China and the US, what does it mean for India?
I think it's something that India should obviously keep an eye on. I hope that it wouldn't be something that directly affects India now or in the future. But it does seem clear that the US is going to be protective of its own industries, particularly, I think, when we look at green industries going forward in the future, the sort of like the high-tech elements that could make the greening of industry that much better. And I think so the US are going to be on their guard about the potential of being flooded by cheaper imports, things that can be produced at a much lower cost by India, China, than they can be done in the US itself. This is something I think it's not quite the same with Mexico, but of course, production costs are again much lower in Mexico than they are in the US.
Okay. David, we'll leave at that. Thanks so much for taking the time out and being with us and giving us your insights.
Thank you.
That's the view on these tariffs. By the way, as we speak, some of the stocks are really shooting up. I'm looking at the top 10 gainers on the Nifty 500. And the gains are above 8% for the top 10 movers. Quite stunning, really, what's happening at that bucket. And a lot of PSUs effectively are doing well. Aditya, we were talking about the PSU index doing well today. I mean, look at the BSE 500 from a Cochin Shipyard to a EIL, Railtel, Mazagon Dock, Garden Reach, HUDCO, IRFC. It's essentially PSUs which are driving this uptake. A lot of stocks have already run up. Do you like anything from the charts of the stocks which are already up 7-8%?
Mazagon Dock, Niraj, stands out definitely for me, though it's up 9.5% in trade today as we speak, trading at day high. I still believe there is enough opportunity in the stock still left on the upside. 2,500 is my immediate target. And if 2,500 is taken out on Mazagon Dock, I'm looking at a target of 2,900. So this is one stock that I will bet big on and bet positional trade on. With a downside support at 2,200, I'll be a buyer in Mazagon Dock. The second set of stocks which are definitely buzzing are the railway stocks. And I think there are pockets there which can be looked at and there's money-making opportunity there. The first one is a Railtel, which looks interesting to me. Can be looked at for a target of 460, 480 on the upside with a stop at 380 on the downside. And the second, again, RVNL, I think a bit of up move there as well is there. So 295 on the RVNL can also be seen with a stop at 260. But the top bet will be Mazagon Dock, Niraj. I think one should definitely look at that stock.
Okay. Well, Mazagon Dock, some serious up moves there in the session today. What else? Okay. While they are gainers, it won't hurt to talk about the losers. Just a moment. I wonder if PVR is still sulking after the numbers. So that stock should come up on your screen. Zomato certainly is down about 3%. Hinzing takes a bit of a breather. What doesn't take a breather is Vedanta. Big move there. Mr. Chokalingam, likes of Hindalco and Vedanta. benefiting from this uptick. In Vedanta's case, they've also spoken about how there is a fundraise meet day after tomorrow, and maybe the industry or maybe the investors have a keen eye out for that as well. Any thoughts on either of these two? Novelis IPO coming up should also benefit Hindalco, I presume.
Certainly, yes. I mean, Hindalco is a better quality stock than Vedanta if you look at the balance sheet. And also the pledging of shares gives me some concern in the Vedanta group. So I would prefer Hindalco. Of course, we have closed the stock at around the current level after making a very impressive return. But if at all somebody wants to play on a metal stock and confine to these two, Hindalco is better than Vedanta.
Okay. Stay on, gentlemen. Some more updates. In fact, an interesting piece of work done by our research team and Harsha and E. Johnson right now, because mutual funds, big banks, metals, metals and utilities are the ones that mutual funds seem to have bought in April as per the data, reflecting a shift in investor preference maybe. Harsh, what's making to the top of that list?
Well, financials remains on top of that list, Niraj. First off, on cash balances, they've actually not come off much. They remain above the 4% mark where mutual funds are concerned. And therefore, you may see a wee bit reduction from 4.4 to 4.2, but outside of that, really cash balances continue to remain quite solid, 4% plus. Now, in terms of what's preferred financials, look at the top two, PNB and Kotak. We've also tried to extrapolate 12-month returns along with the average upside given by analysts as per Bloomberg estimates. And therefore, this kind of compiles and shows you the big picture. These are large cap buys, of course. PNB, Kotak, no surprise there for April. One of the largest buys by mutual funds. A 13% upside from here. Zomato is the other one, notably. Continues to be on the buy list for many mutual funds, 16% upside from here. But outside of that, as correctly pointed out by Niraj, Power Grid is the other one in terms of utilities, even though not too bullish where sell-side analysts is concerned. So that one. But let's take it to the sell list for the month of April. Jio, the kind of run-up the stock has seen, on the back of that, no surprise. Despite that, we still have some bit of upside as per analyst estimates. Look at what SBI has done, and that one is something which mutual funds have sold. BEL is the other one, along with Tata Steel and ITC. Look at the 12-month returns for ITC, 6%. Came as a bit of a surprise to me as well, but 16% upside what most analysts seem to be penciling in. Just in terms of in the mid-cap space, what's happening, let's pull that list up. And you get to see Suzlon as the top buy, and within the top 5 outside of the underrated ones, just look at Suzlon in terms of upside as well. Top upside, and notably so, it is the top buy in the mid-cap space for mutual funds. Outside of that, you have Ashok Leyland, GMR Airports, SAIL and NMDC as well. On the sell side of things, Vodafone Idea, after that stellar run-up, 88% run-up for Vodafone Idea. Look at NHPC's run-up over the last year or so, and look at Exide's run-up over the last year or so. 2.5 bagger for Exide, 1+ bagger for NHPC as well. And therefore, some of those stocks on the sell list for mutual funds. Let's pull up the small caps. In the buy list, Sterlite Tech, SBFC, the NBFC. Nalco is the other one, still continuing to be bullish. City Union Bank and IEX. City Union Bank not done much within the Nifty mid and small cap banks. They've whole host of banks seen a run up, but City Union stayed out of it. And IEX, making it to that small cap buy list. Let's look at the sell list though. TV18, look at the kind of returns, 12-month returns that some of these stocks have offered. No surprises there that some mutual funds really unloading some of that. But look at Aster DM, 44% upside from here is what analysts seem to suggest. But nonetheless, on the mutual fund sell list.
All right, that's quite a list, I'm interested in the buying list as well, because this is the time to figure out your position ahead of the June 4th event, the big event that the market is looking for. And in fact, we spoke to Trideep Edelweiss today as well. We'll play out that bite for you in a bit. But as we're wrapping up last 10 minutes of trade, Aditya, I want to know your BTST calls considering that we're looking at a pretty decent close?
Absolutely, Tamanna. We're looking at a decent close. I would like to put some money to IT as well because I think there is a good short covering rally which can play out in the IT space. Has been underperforming, not spoken of much. I think one should look at the mid-cap IT space now. So a couple of names stand out. And if I vote for a BTST, maybe a persistent system is something which is looking interesting to me. A low-hanging fruit at current levels, I would recommend a buy for a target of 3,600 on the upside with a stop loss at 3,300 on the downside. The second is Coforge. Again, that is something which is looking very interesting to me. And after a sharp up move, downside, I think there's a good short-terming rally here also. So for a target of 5,000, I'll buy Coforge as well with a stop at 4,400. So both these stocks, Coforge and persistent systems, I think should be looked at given the fact that most of the sectors have already run up in a couple of trading sessions.
All right. So, as the election volatility kicks in, what are the top sectors you should bet on? Here's Edelweiss AMC's Tridi Bhattacharya's top 5 picks. Listen in.
5 areas that I would point you to. One is broadly the capex as a theme. I think any weakness, any different one should take advantage of. Power as a theme, the different parts of the supply chain of power, whether it is transmission, distribution, or for that matter, generation, could be an area to look into. Real estate, both direct and indirect plays, would be another area where we would look for weakness to capitalize on it. NBFCs could be the fourth one, where we are interested in particularly areas which are AAA rated, which will do well over a period of time. And finally, defense. Given that, given our Atmanirbhar Bharat theme will probably continue over a period of time, I think the company's order book for the next 20 years are full. So a little bit of a flutter doesn't really make too much of a difference. So these would be the 5 areas where any weakness is a good opportunity to buy because earnings are likely to be resilient over the next couple of years, in my opinion.
Right. So those are some of the top picks that Sudeep has talked about. G. Chokalingam, I want to know what your list is looking like.
Yeah, I have selected few stocks. One, I would recommend Geo Finance in the large cap space. I'm extremely bullish. I believe that in 3 to 5 years, the stock can go to even 800 to 900. The recent 10% correction is an opportunity, I believe. Second, small cap stock, LG Balakrishna Brothers. It has come out with excellent results. It's a cash-rich company, over 600 crore of gross cash. And it supplies to two-wheeler industry, which is doing extremely well now. And it also got rich investments in LG equipment. And it trades cheapest. It's around 14 PE, and most auto component stocks are trading at 20 to 40 PE. So these are the 2 top picks from me. Personally, I don't have, but we have officially recommended both stocks to all our clients.
So LG Balakrishnan there on that thing. Aditya, another counter that two counters actually that I wanted to know your view on. Both have taken a bit of a beating today. One is UPL, the other is Zomato. You think this is a good place to position yourself if the tide turns?
I would first talk about UPL. Tamanna, I think this is one stock which definitely should be looked at. The kind of selling pressure that the stock has seen and now entered into a consolidation, and back-to-back 2 sessions it witnessed buying on good volumes, even though the volume is there today on the selling side as well. But I think a majority of the selling is done in the stock. So at current levels, I would not shy away from putting my money in the stock, mainly with a deeper stop close to about 480, 470 on the downside, and look for a trade above the 200 DMA, which is right now placed at 550. So once stock starts to trade above 550, I would look at a larger target of maybe 600 on the stock. This is one which I would definitely bet on. As far as Zomato is concerned, I would still wait it out for some more downside or maybe a time-wise correction as well, along with price correction. So 170 to 160 is my area where I will target to get into Zomato and look for both, as I mentioned, price and time correction. Once it reaches those comfortable area of 170, 160, I would look at getting into Zomato. If you already own the stock, maybe put a stop at 180. Trailing stop loss at 180, and if that is broken, you should be out of the trade because the kind of runaway that we have seen in Zomato, a pullback cannot be ruled out.
Okay, so that's the take on Zomato as well. What about a Chalet Hotels, Aditya? Something that you're tracking today, another loser of the day?
Yeah, Tamanna, this is another one stock which had significantly run up, and post numbers, the stock is seeing a bit of a cool off. And very important support levels at 775. That is broken, Tamanna, then I think stock will be in for some more decline, at least levels of 710 to about 720 on the downside. So I will still not venture into the stock so early. Wait it out for some more time, let the stock consolidate, or if it has to correct below 775, then let it correct to 720, 710, then I'll be more interested in the stock.
Gentlemen, both of you, thank you so much for taking the time out and being with us. Really appreciate your time this afternoon and your insights, of course. About a minute and a half left for the markets to shut shop. Let's start winding it down. Bring up the Nifty and at 0.5% or 20 to 200. I think the Nifty is doing decently well for itself. Nothing rara, but still decent. PSUs, or that's the bucket really that has had the maximum impact in the session today in terms of breadth. Look at that, Nifty PSE is up 1.9%. Bring up the heat map, a lot of green, very little red. Cipla probably still tops the list of losers with a 4% downtake, a Nestle, a TCS, a Tata Consumer, some defensives down. On the gainer side is the big thing. So Adani Enterprises up 5.5%, big move. Large deal making, commitment of 80,000 crores for FY25, and they're doing everything under the sun. And that stock is doing well, giving it companies the other Adani boy. Adani Ports up 2%. And actually, it's the same set of stocks, just that Reliance is out of the list of the top 10 gainers. What makes it in the list is NTPC, Sun Pharma. So a couple of those names have looked interesting. But not to forget that ONGC's looked okay, and M&M and Hero have done okay for themselves as well. So pretty strong showing there. But effectively, a good day for the large caps, Tamanna, but a solid day for the small caps.
Oh, absolutely. All the action there on the broader end of the markets. The Nifty mid cap, I'm seeing it over 1% or close to 1% after a while. The small cap index also closing very strong, nearly 2% up. I just want to pull up the Nifty metals to tell you what's shining. Nifty metals, Nifty PSU, where all the action really is, nearly 3% up on the Nifty metal as well. Here, and it's not just Nalco and Adani Enterprises in a sale, because I would not be telling you the full story if I didn't tell you the top gainers on the S&P 500, the BSE 500. It's all about the public listed companies and the defense play. BASF, there may be an exception. Chemical company had very good numbers, but Cochin Shipyard, Mazagon, SJVN, RVNL, let's just pull up all of those. They're doing very well. Phenolix conference call outlook has been positive. RVNL, because of that order play, about 8%. Cochin Shipyard, the big winner of the day. IRFC, all of these stocks doing fabulously in trade. Of course, there are a fair bunch of losers also in trade today, and mostly I would say on the back of their numbers. So you are seeing those pain points coming in a UPL, a Chalet, a Zomato, to name a few.
PVR.
And PVR, we have to pull up PVR and see what's happening there. So disappointing set of numbers from PVR. Has expected a miss really on top and bottom line. So 1.5% down. But then again, that's a business which has been seeing pain for some time. That's a continued sort of cloud over that entire space, one supposes. But all in all, a pretty good day. And one of the reasons perhaps we didn't get a chance quite to talk about it is how voter turnout turned out better than expected in hindsight once the final numbers came in versus the provisional ones.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I didn't know about this change and what it means, but good to know that the voter turnout is okay. It's just people's duty to vote.
Yeah, it's people's duty to vote. Voter turnout is okay relatively. The Bernstein note today is interesting, Niraj, because it says that in phase 1, where there is the big dip, it's not really comparable because the number of seats in the areas are different in 2019 versus 2024. So that was the big story there. But having said that, the question really is if this momentum continues. Just look at where the Nifty has closed. That number is interesting, so meme-worthy, 222. 0.60. So quite a pretty close there for the Nifty. Of course, it's slightly moved as the final numbers come in. But I look forward to a good day tomorrow as well. We'll wait and see what Bharti Airtel does.
Yes, Bharti Airtel, Shree Cement and a few others. Siemens could be interesting. But with that, it's a wrap on this leg from Tamanna and me and the team that put this show together. Thanks so much for watching.